Good day everyone. So I'm here to discuss about the history of food service industry of French Revolution. Okay, so let's start with how did the French Revolution affect the food industry? So, harvest failure, food shortages, and high price of food, particularly bread, shaped the course of French Revolution. So, during the French Revolution, the size of a peasant's diet came from the consumption of bread, with an adult mate eating as much as 2 or 3 pounds in a day. The bread French peasant ate was not the fluffy but crusty white baguette we associate with France today. Baguette, a long narrow loaf of French bread. French bread came from France. The first steam oven that was invented by Auguste Zang was brought to Paris in the early 19th century. French bread tend to be longer and narrower. French bread is hard and crusty on the outside with a light and soft crumb. The beginnings of French bread can be found in the Vienna in the middle of the 19th century. Prior to this period, bread was baked in a dry oven, producing a loaf that was less consistent in texture. Bread was the very important product of French Revolution. Bread may have helped spur on the French Revolution, but the revolution did not end French anxiety over bread. French Revolution influenced food service development, in which it influenced by history as much vice versa, and the French Revolution was no exemption. Following the revolution, the abolition of the guild system that controlled who could be a butcher, baker, or cheese maker and how they did their job made easier to open a restaurant. The historical background of French food goes back to the medieval times. During this era, French cuisine was fundamentally the same as Moorish cuisine. It was availed in a manner called service and confusion, meaning that meals were served at the same times. Meals comprised of spice, meats, for examples, pork, poultry, beef, and fish. On 1700s, French eat pork and smoked hams that it was the time only preferred meat in the region. They also ate beef and domestic fowl as well as game, such as deer, bison, squirrel, bear, duck, and goose. Catfish was also favored. During the 15th and 16th century, the French were influenced by the progression culinary arts in Italy. Much of this happened because of Catherine de' Medici, a Florentine princess, who married Henry Duc d'Orléans, who later became King Henry II. In the late 19th century and mid-20th century, there started a modernization of hot cooking. Much of this new food owes its improvement to Georges Escoffier Auguste. Auguste was a chef and a proprietor of numerous restaurants, and in addition, a culinary writer. A lot of Escoffier's strategies in modernizing hot cooking were drawn from the formulas invented by Marie-Antoine Carême, a pioneer of grande cuisine. Haute cuisine or grande cuisine is the cuisine of high-level establishment, gourmet, restaurants, and luxury hotels. Haute cuisine is characterized by the meticulous preparation and careful presentation of food at a high price. Georges Auguste Escoffier was a French chef, restaurateur, and a culinary writer who popularized and updated traditional French cooking methods. He was born on October 28, 1846, and died on February 12, 1935. His restaurants include Le Petit Moulin Rouge, Le Restaurant Facé, Le Fusain d'Or. French cuisine developed throughout the centuries, influenced by many surrounding cultures of Spain, Italy, Switzerland, Germany, and Belgium. In addition to its own food, traditions on the long western coastlines of the Atlantic, the Channel, and of course, the inland. And that's all for my discussion about French Revolution, and hope you guys that you learned something about my